Hello, everyone, and welcome to A New View. I'm Juji, and I'm here with Shira, Lee, and Kim. We are four friends, speakers, and professionals from different cultures, backgrounds, and age groups coming together to offer healing and inspiration. And speaking of inspiration, I believe we all have women out there in the world who are doing great things that inspire us. I know I do, besides from you ladies. So we thought we'd do an episode about the women that inspire us. Who wants to go first?
My pick was Chris Carr, and I think I'll just share my screen and show you guys a little clip before I talk about her, okay?
Cool. I think my old definition of joy always seemed like it was in the future. When I get this, I'll be joyful. When I get that, I'll be joyful. When I feel better and better, I'll be joyful. And it's sad to look back on so many days that I wasted waiting for joy instead of waking up to the fact that it's all around me.
Oh, Kim.
Oh my gosh, every time I see that clip, I just Chris is a cancer thriver. She's a health and wellness activist who for over a decade has been living with an incurable stage 4 cancer, which is amazing in and of itself. And she is a New York Times bestselling author. She has just tons of programs and workshops and talks, and she's one of Oprah's favorites. She's just beyond inspiring. When she got diagnosed, she didn't know what to do. And she picked up a camera and she just started filming. This could have been the last footage anyone would ever see of her, kind of thing. I mean, it was so scary for her. And she picked up this camera and she just hired someone to follow her around on her journey. And this documentary would later be called Crazy Sexy Cancer. And that's her brand. And it's so intriguing because you would never think to put those three words together. It's cancer, crazy, and sexy. So that's just so unique. And she's created this huge brand out of it. Tons of books, tons of cooking books, healing books, all sorts of things. And in this documentary, I remember at the beginning of my psoriasis healing journey, she was actually one of the first people who I ever watched her documentary, read her books, read about healing through food and through self-care. She really was the first person on my journey that I read all this stuff. And I was in love with her. I mean, I'm still in love with her, but she made such an impact on my journey. Like she was literally on my journey with me. And she's on a million people's journeys with them. She is a light to, and an inspiration and hope to thousands of people, whether they have, a lot of them have cancer, a lot of them don't. And I'll never forget, there was a time when I got to meet her. She has a bunch of live events as well, and I've seen her speak a ton of times, but there was this one event where I got to meet her. And I was so nervous and excited, and I didn't know what I was going to say. And I only had maybe a minute with her. And I was on this long line of women at this event. And I went up to her and I can't even tell you what I said. I think I was just like, oh my God, I love you so much. You're on my journey with me. You taught me so many things. I look so, and she was so warm and lovely. And she just literally exuberated love. Like it just came pouring out of her. And that's how she was. Like even in her documentary, what I love about her is all of her frustration, all of her anger, all of her fear. It came oozing out of her, all of that vulnerability. She helped teach me to be vulnerable, that was a superpower. And it was so healing for her to be that way. And she's just taught me so much. And I'll never forget at that event, there was this long line of women. And after my moment with her, I walked away and I turned around and I looked back at that long line, and every woman was having the same experience. They were just like shaking her hand, and they were like just so, and I remember thinking, gosh, I would love to have that impact on people. I would love to spread that much love. So she's just such an inspiration to me. If anyone listening doesn't know who she is, we'll put some links below of all of our women, but there's so many great talks that will just have you crying and laughing and all the things. So that's why I love Chris.
Oh my God, Kim, thank you for sharing. The only reason I know her name is through Marie Forleo, who I know all of us have sort of followed and are inspired by as well, because I think they're really close friends and have done like a bunch of cool things together. And so it's incredible how you can take your pain and the horrors and the fears in your life and turn them around to help other people. But then again, that's why we're all here, isn't it?
Oh yeah, and one other thing I just want to add was speaking of that, when she found her doctor, the doctor she was going to work with throughout her journey, he basically said, this is such an aggressive, this could go one way or another. It could be super aggressive and like you could die soon, or it could just sit and do nothing. And we just need to kind of wait and see. And she's like, well, what do I do in the meantime? And he said, live. And her whole journey and mission has been to teach people, especially with cancer, to live. And you know how hard that is?
Yeah.
Wow.
Hey, I remember coming across her and her name and her journey also, not too long after I was diagnosed with cancer at age 32. And this was back in 1999. So I don't know, around that time frame, within 2-3 years around then, I remember hearing about her, and also she changed my perspective as well. She also definitely had something to do with that, and her being so young, and at the time you didn't hear too many stories of like young people getting cancer. And so she was one of those ones that I absolutely also looked up to. And crazy, sexy cancer, I'm like, what is this? What is this?
Wow.
Helped to change my perspective as well. She's amazing.
Awesome. All right. Well, I think I'll go next, because when we decided to do this topic, I literally didn't even bat an eyelash before I thought of the woman that inspires me so much. And there's so many, but for some reason, her story bubbles to the top for me, because at the time, I mean, she's a woman now, but when she went through what she went through, she was a girl. And I'm talking about Malala. Her last name is Yousafzai. And she, whenever I think of the name Malala, I like literally just say her words and I just get like chills down my spine, because not only, because we all know her internationally, she's known for the girl that was shot by the Taliban and then ended up, changing the world and advocating for women and girls and starting the Malala Fund and winning. She's a Nobel laureate. She won the Peace Prize. Like, she's just amazing. But what I didn't know, because I did a little bit of research just for this show, is that I feel like I want to cry. She was advocating for women and girls before she got shot. She was like 11 years old in her little village, wherever she was from. And she, a lot of girls, and women that just didn't have rights. And when the Taliban came in, they really cut off a lot of things. Like, you couldn't have a TV, you couldn't listen to music, certainly no education. And her father was always a very big inspiration for her. In fact, he helped her start the Malala Fund. But she was already outspoken as a young teenager. And that's why she got shot. She didn't get shot by accident. She was literally on a bus going home. I think she was 15 at the time. And somebody came on the bus and says, where's Malala, or who's Malala? And she was like, I am. And he shot her in the head. And I was like, holy crap, I didn't freaking even know that. So to think that she almost died, right? The fact that she survived is kind of amazing, but not surprising at all, because she was meant to do this work in the world. But for her to have been shot in the head And, remember her face is paralyzed, and to continue in the face of that, the courage, the bravery, the unrelenting, vision that she has, it just literally brings tears to my eyes.
I am Malala, but I'm also Shazia. I'm Kainat. I'm Kainat Somro. I am Mozoon. I am Amina. I am those 66 million girls who are deprived of education. It has become the first generation that decides to be the last, that sees empty classrooms, lost childhoods, and wasted potentials.
So I certainly hope that I get to meet her at some point in my life, because she has also inspired me to continue with my Motivate program and to write my music about hope and healing and having faith and all of these things. I can't imagine going through something so horrifying and to turn your life into what she's turned her life into. It absolutely blows my mind.
We need to have her as a guest on the show.
Yes, please.
Next time.
Yes, please. Just shoot her an email.
I'll just text her right now.
Maybe Snapchat her.
Yo, Ma, can I call you Ma?
I remember
She's a mother to us all, isn't she?
I remember seeing that footage on the news, and it just like just plowing right through my soul. Like, it was so shattering. Oh,
And she
Yeah.
also just got married.
Wow.
she did?
How old is she now?
She's 25 now, and I
Wow.
think she got married last year.
Wow. I remember seeing something about her. I don't know if there's a documentary perhaps on Netflix, or there is. So,
Yeah.
okay. So that's
Yeah.
probably what I saw. And I was blown away. I was blown away. I feel like someone like that is not even like, she's so evolved. She's so
Yeah.
so much farther on that road of like knowing what she wants to do and having that bravery, like you said, to stand up for herself and for the people around her. It's incredible. I can't even imagine.
she's an old soul, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's an old soul.
Mm.
Lee, who did you pick?
Ooh. So yes, like you guys have said before, there are so many incredible women out there, but there's been one that I have been listening to almost religiously now for probably about 3 years or so. And it is somebody that it has been so accessible and so inspirational that they have changed my life for sure. And they continue to do so. And this is Esther Hicks that I'm talking about. So Esther Hicks is a woman who actually gets messages and translates. First of all, she's an author. She's a speaker. She has written many books, a couple of being New York Times bestsellers as well. And she does many, many workshops. I don't know if across the globe, but definitely around the United States. And she goes on a ton of cruises. Her messages are actually spoken words that she speaks, but they come through what they call Abraham. And Abraham is a non-physical entity who gives her messages from, you can think of it as the angels or God or whatnot. And she basically addresses people's issues or anything in life. So she's just very, very incredible. There are so many words that she uses and throws around that you start to get to know once you start to listen to Esther Hicks. Some of them are deliberate creation, and some of them are the vortex, and some of them are your inner being. So all of these things to me were so out there when I first started listening to her, and I didn't understand who this Abraham was. I'm like, is it Esther? Is it Abraham? Is it a man? Is it a woman? What is going on here? Until I started to understand that Abraham is the name of wherever she's getting these messages from. To me, it's like God, and the way that she speaks is not only so eloquent, and that really impressed me. When I first started listening to her, one of the first things that I noticed was her it's like a song. It's like a beautiful song, and it doesn't end, but the messages that are relayed within this are so powerful. They pack such a punch for me that I am continually mesmerized and motivated to make certain little changes in my life by listening to these words, literally. She's kind of like in your face about like not only taking responsibility, but she very much focuses on, if you guys have heard of the law of attraction, right? So I've heard of the law of attraction for the first time, I think, when I watched the documentary, The Secret. A lot of her work is based on the law of attraction, meaning we attract everything that's around us, everything that's going on in our life, and everybody that we meet and all of the experiences that we have. This is what we attract. And many people, have a very hard time digesting this, including myself at times, like, hey, I would never ask for this. I never would want this or that to happen or to be. But, once you start to realize, and these are some of the teachings that have been therapy to me, that what we think and how we are and the energy that we create for ourselves is what we create around us. So if we are in a bad energy, or if we are stuck on something that is contrasting in our life, on a conflict, on a challenge, on whatever it might be, if we talk about it a lot, if we think about it a lot, if we continually feel like a victim, we will attract more of that into our life. And so a lot of these were great reminders from some of the work that I've done also 12 years ago, similar to the landmark that Juji and Kim, you've done. And I just love that this is so accessible to me. There has been a lot more deliberate creation in my life. And I like to always be aware of that and remind myself that I deliberately can create the things I love in my life. Anyway, Esther, there are animated videos on YouTube.
Yeah, they're awesome, actually.
Thousands of them, thousands. And yeah, they're awesome, and they're funny looking, but the message comes across. And on many of these videos, actually, she's in an audience and she has people sitting in what she calls the hot seat, whether it's on a cruise or whatnot. So you're actually getting to be a fly on the wall of a conversation that she has with somebody who has just presented her with their issue, or, hey, I never had money and I feel like I'm in lack, and I know I'm not supposed to be thinking that, but what do you think? And she helps people kind of shift. You have to shift your thinking, and the more we are in lack, or thinking we are in lack, the more lack we will be in. But once we start to, feel like we have abundance in our life, whether it's money or success or love, that is when things start to change.
So when you are feeling despair, what that means is your perspective of life right now has got you offering a vibration. It's sort of like beating a drum. I don't have enough money and no one loves me and things aren't going my way and I'm powerless. That's the despair sort of vibration. And as you're beating the drum of despair, you are activating a vibration within you that is so different from the vibration of empowerment and knowledge that is the source energy part of you, that you feel the emotional discord. So despair just means you're really vibrating off track from who you really are. Love and appreciation means you're right on track. When you look at someone and you love them and you feel that love welling up in you, that feeling that you're experiencing means that what you're choosing to focus upon and the vibration that is activated by your perspective is so in sync with the emotion of who you really are that you are utterly in alignment.
Yeah, I have to say my experience with Esther Hicks, and she's amazing, but so out there, but not as out there as I used to think she was, because I listened to her like, I don't know, 10 or 15 years ago. Somebody brought her to my attention and I was just like, oh, I'll give it a listen. And afterwards I was just like, you're fucking crazy, right? Then, but somehow miraculously, like 10 years later, and this is such an amazing thing about our journey in life, like we could, experience things, try things, listen to things, watch things. And then at some point they're like, oh, like, cause it literally, this was 6 months before I left my marriage. And for some reason she came across my path again, and I heard it with completely different ears. And it really, really helped me a lot.
Yeah.
I credit a lot of the changes that I've made to the switch. And she really is. She's funny. She's really funny. And she's just so to the point. And like you said, she's so almost speaks like musically. And I'm just like, oh, give me more, give me more, give me more.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable, the desire for more, because these messages, to the point,
Just stay with you.
and just I've had so many wow moments. I almost to this day, if I wake up and listen to, and these videos are short, you know, they're all doable. Every day I literally listen to at least one video when I wake up, after I meditate or before or whenever. But if I'm feeling a little low, I turn one of her videos on, and it's usually one that I need to hear at that moment. It's wild, but yeah, it used to be far out there, but now it's like, it's just incredible. And she's so eloquent, and
She's been around for so long too. She has so much wisdom.
She has been around for a long, long time. Yeah, she has.
I've seen her in person, and what you were describing, I have, yeah. And I went to one of her events, and I have to tell you, like, anyone who's a skeptic has like one experience with her, and then they become like completely in love and like just for life. But when I went to her event, what you were saying about like how it just flows out of her like a song, it is so obvious. Like, any non-believer should just watch one video or whatever, because it is so obvious that she's not the one. Like, she's creating the words coming out of her mouth, but like, she's not having those thoughts. And it's so smooth and flowing in a way that's just, you can tell it's not her speaking.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what was so weird in the beginning, when I was like, well, who is this? And how can that be? Because it's hard to believe this is not a normal thing, you know, but yeah, she translates. It's really just all coming to her.
She's channeling.
Channeling. Yeah, I've heard her.
Although she doesn't call it that.
I know.
I've heard her refer to the information as infinite intelligence.
From infinite intelligence. Yeah, out there in the universe or wherever. But yeah, but it comes through her. Seriously, it's like a poem, like it's unbelievable. I'm very impressed by that. And I'm like, I don't know anyone else who has ever spoken like that.
Yeah.
Forget the words. It's just the way they come out and how well put together.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. So anyway, she has helped to really change my life in so many ways. And I highly
We'll include her channel in the notes.
We'll include her channel. Yeah.
This has been great, guys. I'm so excited that we did this, because when we brought this up as a topic, we weren't like entirely sure how it was going to go. And like, we've all been geeking out. So I love this.
It's your turn to geek out now, Juge.
I know. And it's so funny because mine's an Esther too. And it's especially hilarious because I was supposed to be named Esther.
Really?
So, I don't know what happened, like right before I was born, they changed their minds, but yeah, so Esther Perel is my girl crush. I chose. And it hasn't been many years since I found her for the first time, but she did a TED Talk a number of years ago about infidelity. And it was the first time that I had heard somebody talk about it without judgment. Because she is a psychologist who has been working with couples on healing from infidelity for a long time. And when I saw this TED Talk for the first time, it was actually through Instagram somehow, like it was recommended to me randomly on Instagram. And so I clicked the link and I just saw a small clip of it. And then of course I had to go over to YouTube, and like, it was after my marriage had just ended, like I had just left, And I had been unfaithful in my marriage. So I felt a tremendous amount of guilt around that. And she like broke down the moving parts, I guess, of what infidelity means to people. And it suddenly made everything so much more like human to me, that like I had just had like a very human experience, and that it wasn't I wasn't alone, first of all, that like so many people go through this, and so many more people go through this than you would expect.
There is one simple act of transgression that can rob a couple from their relationship, their happiness, and their very identity, an affair. And yet, this extremely common act is so poorly understood. So this talk is for anyone who has ever loved. Adultery has existed since marriage was invented, and so too the taboo against it. In fact, infidelity has a tenacity that marriage can only envy. So much so that this is the only commandment that is repeated twice in the Bible. Once for doing it, and once just for thinking about it.
Because it's such a taboo and we don't talk about that, and it becomes such a moral, minefield when it comes to how we discuss it, and the way that she was discussing it, and how she continues to discuss relationships, which has been a huge focus for me in like how I coach people and how I work with people, because it just seems to be what I attract, not because I purposefully was like, I'm going to, work with people on relationships. It was more just like, that's what ended up coming into my field. And it's what I feel most passionate about, because I realized through her how much it had to do with like our own inner like world, that our relationships play out the way that they do. And I also see her as somebody who's in this like self-development, like awareness world, but she's also like super chic. She's Belgian, but most people think she's French. So she has this fabulous accent, and she always wears such like beautiful things. And I was just like, when I worked in fashion, I was always like looking up to like Anna Wintour and stuff like that, even though it like I had no connection to this person. Like it was just like who I was supposed to see as like the ultimate in, chic or whatever, like Sarah Jessica Parker, things like that. But I couldn't relate to these people. And then all of a sudden here was this woman talking about this very taboo subject, so intelligently, so articulately, and just looking fabulous while she was doing it. And I was like, I want to be her when I grow up.
She also speaks 9 languages, by the way, because I'm a huge Esther Perel fan also. And both of her parents are Holocaust survivors. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, super fascinating woman.
Juji, you sent me the link to her TED Talk, which we'll definitely paste below. But I was so fascinated at how it was just so interesting. Like I finished watching it and I was like, I never looked at infidelity this way. Like she completely gave me a new perspective that I would have never have found on my own if I didn't watch this TED Talk. And you mentioned she was funny, and she definitely is funny too. Yeah. But yeah, very interesting. I think I didn't know her before. So I'm so happy to know her. I want to definitely see more of her work.
She's helped so many people. I mean, her name just like pops up all over the place now. It's like crazy.
And she gave some really interesting examples too of like couples she worked with and situations to just to be able to, again, open your, give it a new view. Pun intended.
She said that when she was talking in her TED Talk about when she was at this conference, that somebody was like, oh, you're doing a talk about infidelity. Are you for infidelity or against it? And she said, yes. Because she calls it sort of like a portal to something new. You know, it's not that it's not a, for her, again, it's not like a moral decision of whether or not you want to be for something or against something. There's just such an acceptance of what is, you know, and I find that to be so refreshing. Like, instead of pushing up against this thing that is so unacceptable to talk about and to experience, you know, like the finger pointing and the shaming and this like crossed arm energy that people bring to something that is so common and also just so it can be so painful, whether or not you're on the receiving end of it or not. Like it is not pleasant for anyone involved, really. Like, it's not a fun thing to go through, but to put it into a new perspective and to give people a better sense of what goes on in these things can maybe help us with a conversation about what that all means. And it's funny because I feel like when you guys were describing who you find to be inspirations, it's women who deal with these like big existential, like extreme things. And I feel like what I love so much about Esther Perel is that it's like, it's very earthbound, you know, it's very like, it's with like regular everyday people that she deals, because you know, we all just are living our own lives. It doesn't have to be this huge big like, let's solve like women's education across the world. Like, of course that is important. Of course that is something to celebrate. Of course it deserves a Nobel Prize, you know what I mean? But like, what I love about this is that it's just like run of the mill, everyday humans that she's like here to serve. And I feel the same way in terms of like who I just end up being in contact with.
Mhm.
And she is like not only helping save a lot of marriages by really walking them through all those moving parts so they understand it. You know, some people will choose to allow it to break them up. Some people will choose, you know, especially after working with her, of how will they help them grow in the relationship together. But she's also helping so many men and women like learn so much about themselves and grow themselves. It's really beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, guys, I think this is a good place to wrap it up. If you've enjoyed our conversations, please subscribe to our channel and be sure to let us know if you have any topic requests or questions by commenting below. We'll see you soon. Thank you so much for watching and stay
Thank
safe,
you.
everyone.
So
Bye.
inspired.
Mm.